Welcome to Kinks and Crowns YouTube channel. Thank you for coming back. Thank you all for liking and subscribing after watching our first vlog. We truly appreciate it. We created this to have a space where we can be transparent as parents and really just allow you guys to see what it's like living in our house, raising three and under. But today's video is going to be my birth story of having Quest. I have not shared it for a number of reasons, but if you're down to listen, down to watch this video, go ahead and continue to watch. Okay, so I have some notes here because I don't want to go on this crazy tangent, which is really easy to do when you have a story to tell that holds a lot of emotion. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. Why am I making this video? I am making this video to inspire, one. Sometimes things don't go as planned and we don't hear those stories. Sometimes we only hear the success stories, and I'm here to inspire other mothers who may possibly have already gone through this, and mothers who are currently pregnant and have birth plans that fail. So my ultimate reason, though, is for therapeutic reasons. I am still, I don't want to say suffering, but I am still definitely feeling some type of way about this last birth, because you don't hear a lot of stories about failed birth plans. I can honestly say that what I felt, or what I am currently feeling, feels really unusual, just because, like I said, you don't hear a lot of those stories. And so this is very therapeutic. This is actually my 5th time recording this birth story for a number of reasons, whether it was lighting or I felt that I went on and on about something that wasn't really what I was trying to say. So hopefully this will be the last time, and hopefully I'll be able to get my point across. As you guys know, I feel like I'm pretty experienced in the pregnancy department. I suffered 2 miscarriages. I was high risk. I had to undergo a procedure while being pregnant. I had an epidural, had a hospital birth, had a home birth, had a midwife. And so I feel like, you know, I'm pretty well diverse in the pregnancy department. And so when I got pregnant the 3rd time, I knew for sure, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted. I knew what was available to me while I was pregnant. And so being new in San Antonio, I didn't know what the culture was. I didn't know if they were down with midwives or down with natural birth or down with home births. So I thought the safest thing and easiest thing to do was to have a hospital birth unmedicated. So I found a great OB. She was very conservative, and I knew right off the bat she was going to probably flip out about me having a home birth with a 10-pound baby prior to his 3rd baby. So, you know, whatever. As long as she was a great OB, I wasn't really tripping. But the initial conversation was her totally disagreeing with that. She believes all babies should be born in a hospital, and, you know, that was fine. So we agreed to have a cerclage, which is a stitch that is placed on your cervix to keep it closed. We agreed to have that done. I had it with my first pregnancy, my 2nd, and now we decided to make sure we did it with this one as well. Though I had no issues with my cervix with River, and we just wanted to be sure. People do it for preventative measures, and that's what we decided to do. So she was down on board with the cerclage, and everything was fine. She checks for your thyroid, which a lot of people don't do, and we found out that I also had low thyroid. Not a big deal, nothing super extreme. So she put me on a low thyroid medication, and everything is fine. Trekking along, at about 9 weeks, she starts bringing up elective C-section. I kept telling her I wasn't down with it. I knew what my body was capable of, and no to the C-section. Well, she kept bringing it up, kept bringing it up, kept bringing it up. So I started really like not wanting to go to my OB appointments, just because I felt like she was really like pressuring me. Here's a mom who had a vaginal birth, survived delivering a 10-pound baby at home in my bed. Like, you're not going to just tell me, okay, you're not going to just try to push a C-section on me. Like, I know what I'm capable of. So it got to the point where I was just done. And so I fired her and looked into going to a birth center and, you know, met with the midwives at the birth center, absolutely adored them, decided to do that. Got to the birth center, they knew what my thyroid issue was, they knew about their cerclage, and so because I had those two things kind of like going on, they gave me a OB who would come to the birth center, and I would still get to have that experience. So I struck gold, okay? It was great. So we decided to do the birth center, picked out my midwife. It was just great. While being a patient at the birth center, they found out that I also had low platelets. Again, they weren't like off the chart, but they were low. And for safety reasons, you want to make sure that your health and baby's health are like 100% when you decide to have a non-hospital birth. So, you know, we were kind of making sure that we were going to go ahead and treat the low platelets with like natural remedies, just because we didn't want it to drop. And if it dropped below something, I don't remember the number, I wouldn't be able to have my birth at the birth center. So at about 36 weeks, we checked the platelets. They're fine. You know, we're all on board, ready, 100% sure I'm going to have my birth at the birth center. Also at about 36 weeks, when my urine was tested, it showed a small trace of protein. Just to be sure, my midwife ordered a blood test just to make sure there was no preeclampsia hanging over my head or any of those things. I didn't have high blood pressure. I didn't have swelling in my ankles or anything like that, but she decided that she was going to order a blood test just to make sure everything was fine. So the blood test comes back normal, so we just kind of ignored the trace of protein. My OB wasn't concerned, the midwives weren't concerned, so, you know, we were fine. 37 week comes and goes, 38 comes and goes, finally my due date comes, and still no baby. But at the same time, you hear all these things. Oh girl, you already had 2 kids, birth is gonna come so fast, like that baby's gonna come flying out. No. Due date came and went. I was going to a chiropractor. I was doing all the things, drinking all the teas, walking, sex, everything. And this baby just was like, he wasn't dropping at all. His head wasn't even pressing down on my cervix. And so he was resting really high. So 40 weeks and 3, I go to my chiropractor and I'm really not feeling well. I was almost positive that meant the baby was coming because I didn't feel well before my other 2 babies. And so, you know, I started feeling pretty good about feeling like crap. Go to the chiropractor, just, you know, go on with my day. I go run some errands at Walmart. At Walmart, I'm like puking like crazy in the parking lot. I text Bodie and, you know, he's like, all right, babe, you know, this is the end of the journey here. You're doing well. You know, just stay hydrated. I'm gonna get off early and I'll meet you at home. So by the time Bodie comes home, I'm resting. I'm kind of getting some contractions, but nothing too crazy. So I didn't even eat dinner because my stomach was just hurting that bad. I was just so nauseous. And so later on that evening after dinner, I started having some, you know, serious contractions. So I'm timing them. And I jump in the tub just to kind of like, you know, allow my body to relax through these contractions. I'm in contact with my midwife the whole time and reassuring me that at any point that I, you know, am really in active labor, go ahead and give her a call and she'll meet me at the birth center. So we're timing them. They're right on track for allowing me to feel like this is the real thing. And so I'm kind of just working through these contractions, and at the same time of having contractions, I was having like an upper stomach pain, and it was something a little bit different than nausea. It was almost like someone was punching me in my stomach, and so on top of having the contractions, I was having that pain as well. So I was like, let me just lay down a little bit and try to, you know, get as much rest as I can because the full-blown situation is coming up. So you know, we're still in contact. Bodie's texting my midwife, and he lets her know that I'm going to go ahead and lay down. I lay down and wake up, and it's the morning. No labor, no baby. I'm feeling pretty discouraged. I'm still having the stomach pain. So Who was supposed to be sleeping, but he's not. Like 7 o'clock in the morning, contractions have completely stopped, and I'm still having the upper GI pain. So my midwife was like, you know what, go ahead and meet me at the birth center. I'm gonna check you, see if you're dilated, see what your blood pressure is looking like, you know, just to make sure you're okay. Okay, so this is 40 weeks and 4 days. Yesterday was 40 weeks and 3 when I started going into labor. So 40 weeks and 4 days. I go to the birth center. She checks me. I'm actually like, I don't believe I was dilated at all. It was about 70% effaced. Blood pressure was fine. We didn't test my urine because I was actually so dehydrated at that point that we agreed it was best that I go to the hospital, get some labs taken, and see how the baby's doing, especially being that I was already overdue. Yeah, okay. So I get to the hospital. They run a series of tests. 2 of them were 2 ultrasounds. One that was just like a normal ultrasound to check the baby size. The other was checking the fluid levels just to really make sure that the baby was okay, being that I was overdue. They also ran some blood tests, and by the time, you know, I get the blood test, I'm already kind of anxious and just ready really to just get this baby out. But I was patient and I was optimistic. Come to find out, the blood tests were very alarming and very concerning. I had atypical preeclampsia. My OB was still trying to give me the birth that I wanted. And so she, I guess the blood tests weren't urgent enough for me to have like some emergency C-section or her induce me right away. But it was enough. It was enough to convince her that the baby needed to come out, you know, pretty soon. So the plan was I would rest, eat, and, you know, just get settled into the hospital, and she would induce me 3 a.m. the next morning. And so the Pitocin has literally been on only for 5 minutes, and it's contraction central. So it is 3:18. I pray I have him before noon. So I had mentioned an epidural because I woke up this morning after getting 2 hours of sleep, and I'm just kind of like, if I want an epidural, I'm gonna get one. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. And I woke up and I saw the little chart where they give all your goals, and it said pain management and safe delivery. And those are my 2 goals at this point. I had actually some health issues, more than I thought I would have, or more than expected. And at this point, just being able to deliver him safe is all I care about. Yeah. So here it is, 40 weeks and 5 days, and I am completely prepared and just kind of going into the day with an open mind, and knew that if I wanted an epidural, I was going to get one. My ultimate goal was just delivering my baby healthy, me being healthy, because that was a crazy health scare. So then my OB comes and she's asking, you know, how the contractions are going. I told her they're, you know, I can deal with them, nothing too crazy. She decides to check me, and I'm still not dilated very much. Also, the reason why I wasn't dilating was because the baby was still pretty high up. He wasn't resting on my cervix at all. And so she does a quick ultrasound and finds out that his arm and hand are like on his face like this. So he wasn't able to really get down into the birth canal. And so as I was contracting, she suggested that I get on all fours to help him, you know, kind of shimmy down into the birth canal. So we kind of do that for about an hour or so. So she comes back and she checks me. She feels that he's, you know, she feels that he has descended a little bit. But to speed things up, she suggests breaking my water. I should have known that was going to intensify things times 1,000, because I was induced also with Phoenix, and I remember what breaking the water did. Actually, I also had my water broken with River, and that just made things so intense. I should have braced myself, and I didn't. I took it very lightly, and so when those contractions hit and intensified, I just wasn't prepared, and I could not handle the pain. And so, not handling the pain very well, I'm already at this point feeling like I can't take the pain. I request an epidural. And by that point, my pain level is beyond anything I can bear. So I'm literally begging for the epidural. And if you want an epidural, one of the things you cannot have are low platelets. So knowing that, they go ahead and say, before I can get my epidural, I have to have a blood test. Imagine feeling like all your bones are breaking, and they tell you they can't give you any pain relief until they draw your blood, and wait for those results. So as I'm just in all this pain, I get my blood drawn, and that takes forever. It took forever, to the point where nurses that were not mine were like trying to figure out what the heck was taking so long, because at this point I'm screaming and hollering and demanding they do something. Okay, so my nurse is like, oh my gosh, Dominique, we're trying to figure out what's taking the lab so long. And then it got to the point where, like, the very last minute, the anesthesiologist is like, while I'm waiting, let me just go ahead and prep you so I can just help you, help speed this process up. So the normal range of, I have to find out what the normal range is. I believe it's 100. By the time my labs come back, the anesthesiologist is about to poke me in the back, literally waiting on a verbal of what my levels were, my platelets. I was in the 70s, okay? And so that is extremely low. And she literally was like, I can't do this. She's like, there's no way I can give you an epidural with your platelets being that low. She's like, if I even attempted to do this epidural, you could bleed to death or you can be paralyzed. And I'm just kind of like, you have got to be kidding me. I am like super vocal about how I felt. I was screaming. These contractions were so intense. Yeah. And it was the worst moment of my life. Like, it would be one thing if I had to deal with that pain and then I got my epidural and everything was fine. No, it was this long drawn out situation, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That was just so intense. I mean, I was begging. I was begging them to do something because I just couldn't take it. And so I'm just screaming, I'm hollering. I'm literally how movies depict birthing mothers. And people are like, there were other people in the room, like surgical techs and stuff like that, because I was that loud, that were like, didn't this chick have a home birth of a 10-pound baby in her bed? Like, what is going on? And I think at that point they realized, okay, no, this chick is really in labor. And then they were like sympathizing with me, praying over me. And it was just so intense. So I'm like, you know what? If y'all can't give me no epidural, take this baby out now. So my nurse, she's like, Dominique, oh my God, are you serious? Like, you could totally do this. She's like, let me check you one more time. I think at that point I was like at 6. I was like, no way, I cannot do this. I'm like crying my eyeballs out, holding on for dear life on the rail of the bed, trying to just deal with these contractions, screaming, crying, shaking, shivering. And I was like, you know what? Take this baby out. I don't care. Cut this baby out. I want it out now. And I remember saying something along the lines of, you guys are not, I think I said something like, it has to, I don't know what I know. I think I said something like, you guys are not about to sit here and let me suffer. I think it's horrible that you guys are letting me sit here and suffer. So my OB comes in and she's like, Dominique, if you want a C-section, tell me right now and I'm doing it. We're not going to go back and forth about it. If this is what you want, let's do it. Give me a C-section is what I said. So at that time, because I was so like just all over the place, super loud and just all over the place. Okay, Quest. Okay. Really? Okay. They gave me something to take, quote unquote, the edge off. I do remember it kind of helping, but I still was very adamant about a C-section. And I was just very, like, content with knowing that I was about to have my baby. So they're like, all right. One of the nurses was like, you know, we just have to let you know that, you know, you're going to be put to sleep. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And I felt bad, but at that moment I didn't care. So, a couple moments later, I guess there was like a shift change, and the anesthesiologist that was going to be the one taking care of me during C-section, she was like, you know what, actually, I don't have to put you to sleep because I couldn't have an epidural. I can give you a spinal block, which is something totally different than an epidural. And so I got the spinal block and gave birth to my baby. So, by God's grace, I was able to witness and be there, be awake, and be aware of what was going on, and was able to hear my baby's first cry, or his grunt, because he was not happy. And what I find to be very helpful in me trying to process this experience is knowing how far dilated I was when she cut me open, to really understand, like, could I have waited a little bit longer? And so she's like, I'm about to check. Before she cut me open, she checked, and I was dilated to about an 8. It wasn't even a full 8. And, you know, 8 is not far from 10, but he was not in the birth canal at all. Like, he was still very high up under my ribs. And so her knowing that my situation, knowing where my mindset was, she felt like the C-section was the best thing. I didn't get a ton of rest prior to the C-section, or prior to going into labor. So my mind was all over the place. I was extremely exhausted. My platelets were super low, so I felt low energy. You know, it just was a situation that, you know, maybe the C-section was best. On the other hand, I did feel negatively about the situation of asking for a C-section. The moment I had him, obviously, they put him in my arms. I felt like everything was worth it. You know, going into the whole day, I had him at around 11. And so, you know, when the afternoon came, I was fine. When the nighttime came, I was fine. It was about maybe the second or third day of having him that I realized, like, wait a second. This was not the plan. This was not supposed to happen. This was my last baby. I wanted to have the birth my way. And, you know, regret hit like hard. And I felt horrible. I really did. And as the days kept going on and on, by the time I got discharged and released, that regret turned into like sorrow. And I just was super sad that I didn't get to have the birth that I wanted. And so, you know, people don't talk about that. People don't talk about failed birth plans, like, at all. I was very much anti C-section, to the point where I fired my previous provider for it. And I end up with a C-section. A C-section that I requested, okay? And so the birth center birth was plan B. Plan C was having to deliver at the hospital. Plan D was a C-section. No, plan D was having a hospital unmedicated birth. I mean, like, what letter was this? Was this plan F for fail? I don't know. But, you know, it was tough. And, you know, at about my 6-week checkup, it was hard enough, and it was so heavy on my heart that it was something that I had to bring up to my OB. Like, I feel very depressed. Like, and, you know, she pretty much said, like, it's very normal to feel some type of way about a plan that failed. Even my midwife said there is a such thing of grieving over the birth you didn't get to have. And that's what it felt like. It felt like something died, and something just, I don't know. And I was always one of those moms, especially suffering miscarriages, when I heard moms talk about stuff like this, like, oh, they're ungrateful, like at least they have a baby. And I'm holding my baby and I'm still like thinking to myself, dang, like I still didn't get to birth you the way that I wanted to. And so, you know, I am still dealing with that to this day. I still bring it up to Bodhi every couple of days, probably, like, dang, what if I would have did this, or what if I had a doula, or what if I don't know, what if, and, you know, so, you know, I just really wasn't quick to share this story because I felt like a failure, and, you know, I didn't want to share it with y'all. And so people were asking what happened with the birth, like right after I had him, and I just wasn't ready. Here I am 4 months and I still feel some type of way about it. And so I never thought I'd be a C-section mom. So I'm not going to lie. I used to feel like C-section moms had it the easy way. After experiencing a 48-hour labor with River, pushing a 10-pound baby out, C-section is a piece of cake. But at the end of the day, it's still delivery. You're still delivering a human. And no matter what type of birth you have, whether it's natural or epidural or whatever, C-section, VBAC, whatever it is, you're doing something miraculous. And so I have to remind myself every day, like, I birthed a miracle. Granted, he was not trying to come out, and, you know, he was still very high up when she cut me open. Who knows how long it would have taken for me to how long it would have taken for me to deliver him. Who knows what would have happened with my health. And so that's the birth story of Quest. Someone told me, well, I know who it was. Someone told me that sometimes you don't get to choose the birth. The birth chooses you. And that was definitely the situation. Being able to conceive, being able to carry a baby, birthing a baby, no matter which way it is a miracle. And at the end of the day, I kind of just have to remind myself with that. And he's a miracle, and I know what it's like to not be able to have a baby, and so I have to remind myself of the good things, you know, but it's a struggle every day, and, you know, I'm still processing these emotions, and, you know, I hope that I can inspire other moms. You know, we make our birth plans, and we have to be prepared when things don't go the way that we plan. And remember, the ultimate goal is having a healthy baby. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks.